I was confronted by a CIA operative as to why we weren't doing the females. I said, it is immorally wrong, for one, and it was not my directive. He got mad.
Now, let's be clear. When you lock down a city or a town and are issuing people ID cards, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen it in person in military drills here in the U.S. and U.S. cities, they biometrically scan you and then give you an ID card. People don't know that this is really being used as a biometric scan. You may not have even been told. But let's point that out, that even in Iraq, and I'd also read that they weren't scanning females. So you were in Iraq and didn't want to scan females. What happened?
Okay, I was confronted since I was the NCOIC of that operation at that time. The unit we took over for was having a memorial service for one of their fallen. And the unit we took over for even specifically told us they do not do the same scanning of the females. So we were following the same standard of operation policy. Now, this particular person, I don't know if he was new at that point or he was just getting fed up and not getting that information or what, confronted me about it. And I told him, no, I am not going to do it. That is immorally wrong on my behalf, you know, how I've viewed it.
Well, I'm going to let you finish, but stop, Ron. Let's make this point. Remember 2 years ago, the head of the Air Force, the civilian head of the Air Force, I forget his title, the director of the Air Force, I believe, it was in the Associated Press. The headline was, Director of Air Force says use sound and microwave weapons on citizens first, because under Geneva Convention they couldn't use them on Iraqis, but then by deploying them in the U.S., they could then list it as not a weapon of war, and so now they've done that. It's the same thing with the scanners. We are the most enslaved. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So an alternative that they were doing was using the wands on the females, and only the female interpreters we had were the only ones that were doing it. Anyway, the confrontation, he said, well, I'm going to go to your commander. Who's your commander? I said, I'm not going to tell you. You find that out for yourself. And, you know,
how long were you in Iraq? I mean, when I talk about the military being turned against us, I know the military's really waking up. The police are waking up. But are you still in? Are you out? Do you talk to your buddies? I
recently was medically retired just this past October.
Were people waking up to this insanity that's going on?
There are quite a few, believe it or not, that are. And there are quite a few, believe it or not, that know that there are these things that are going on that don't sit well in their gut.
Well, here's an example. I have a lot of family in the military, a lot of them officers. And they've told me at barbecues and family events, they say, I don't even want anyone to know you're my family. I wouldn't get promoted if it was known. And they said, Alex, you're absolutely right. We are doing takeover drills. One of them is in logistics, not even in combat. He was in combat brigades before, but now he's over logistics. He said all of us are being trained for riot control, and the officers were told it's for America. They're training all units to take on the American people because the banks have robbed us blind. Stay there, Ron. I want you to finish up with your take on how we boycott these scanners, how we expose it. I got some of my own ideas coming up. Then Virgil, Jason, John, and others. 1-800-259-9231. This is the one, the only GCN Radio Network trying to save the Republic. She is on life support right now.
Folks are born, made to wait to fly. Ooh.
Ron, anything else you wanted to add about body scanners in Iraq not scanning women? I've seen blurbs, can't place when, years ago about the controversy of scanning Iraqi women. But again, American women and children, naked bodies, scan them. We're the home of the cowards, home of the slaves. Or are we? I have some ideas of ways to protest this, ways to boycott this, ways to educate people. And we're going to do that. But going back to Ron and then Virgil, Jason, John, and others. Finish up, Ron.
Here's the thing. Like I said, you know, I protested that. And, of course, I was only there just for that one time just to fill in. And, unfortunately, I couldn't say. All I know is that when we were there, we didn't do it. You know, I told my guys we're not going to do it, and I didn't care if I lost my rank or what, because morally I did not like the idea. You know, now as far as here, before I went in the Army, I had the fortunate ability to study law a little bit before I went into active duty. And I do know, and I kind of got the idea from Dr. Horowitz, in relation to the H1N1 vaccine, where people were filing injunctions in regards to preventing being forced to take the vaccine. It is possible. I'm trying to look it up now for sure. I'm going through the Code of Federal Regulations and other cases. I haven't seen anything where it hasn't been done yet, but it is possible that we could all, as a people, file federal injunctions to keep us from being scanned, because it is not a federally mandated law yet.
Exactly. It's a regulation. It's a policy of the TSA and Homeland Security and ICE. What they do is they come into a governmental system, a airport, public-private. They make deals with the airlines. The commercial aviation does it. Nobody has to do it there to fly their Cessna or their private jet or to charter a jet. And then everyone is herded through and indoctrinated. And now TSA says they're going nationwide with body scanners, random vans, checkpoints. It's already happening. This is so incredible. Yes, we need people to file injunctions. I was just talking to my IT guy a month ago, going through Houston, which I will not fly through, and I appreciate your call, Ron. I will not fly through George Herbert Walker Bush Airport, because I've flown internationally through there twice, and literally, they scream and yell at you and say, hustle, 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 and they freak out and panic, and they wave their arms. I mean, it's like animals or something at the TSA. And my parents went to a wedding for one of my cousins in Mexico. She got married down there at one of those resort weddings. And my poor grandmother, who had polio in the 50s and is on crutches, 85, 86 years old today, I said, what was it like when you went through Houston? And they said, it was hell. Screaming at her to hurry up. I mean, it's shit, folks. They might as well just put us in loincloths and slave pits. Oh, but it's to keep us safe because the government cares so much about us. Oh, yes. Everyone knows that's a fraud. The Pentagon conquered the world. They're now conquering us. And they mean to hurt us bad. And the average person in the military means well. They're compartmentalized. I've seen these new National Guard TV ads where they play all this crazy, creepy music. And it says mission comes first. Even above the Constitution is the message.